the hike up Acatenango, which was both the coolest thing we've ever done and also disappointing and also challenging, but looking back, a must do.
Yeah, must do. 100% must do. Even if like you want to just like, we did the hike to Acatenango and it was a challenge. It was a struggle. The weather was insane. The weather eventually prohibited us from seeing and getting to the very top of the volcano, which was the ultimate disappointment. But the experience of being able to go and hike this thing with a great group of people and explore various terrains, and I mean, it was bananas.
So the night before, you're supposed to go to a meeting, which we missed. So we had to go early the next day.
I'm going to include that.
We had to go early the next day to get prepped, and they give you all the supplies you need. So they give you a backpack, they give you clothes, they give you food. You can bring extra food, which we'd recommend.
Go back to clothes. What do they give us?
They give you warm clothes because it gets really cold at night. And Danny chose from the bin of clothes to wear ho, ho, ho Santa fuzzy pants and a hat with the little tassels hanging down. He looked adorable.
I smashed it on this hike.
If couture was an option, this is what you should aim for.
Yeah, that was dope. And
they take you for breakfast before you go on the hike. And then you drive like probably an hour to get to the start of the hike. And you pass through 4 different ecosystems while ascending 5,000 feet over 1 day plus like 1.5 days, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, you go 4,000 plus feet on the first like day, and then the idea is you make it to base camp, which situates itself about 12,000 feet in the air, 12,000 feet above sea level, and then you do the last pretty much 1,000 feet the next day. We didn't get to do the last 1,000 feet because the weather was terrible. We made it to base camp and it was like hailing the entire time that we were there.
If you go during rainy season, you need to be aware that that's an option that you might not.
Yeah, it's like probable that you're not going to make it up.
Yeah.
there.
Be aware of what time of year you're going.
But you get to see like the volcano erupting on the way up. Like it was pretty insane that
you can hear the volcano erupting, and then you can feel the ground shaking if you choose to do the extra hike up to the ridge of Fuego.
Should we do that? Should we talk about Fuego?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're on the way up at the very beginning, and there's another group coming down, and there's a man who's just shaking his head. He's just looking at it. He goes, "Whatever you do, don't do Fuego. Don't do Fuego."
So logically, we did Fuego.
And so we get up to base camp, which, by the way, it's a tough hike. It's like you're going at a very steep rate. You're hiking 4,000 feet. You take breaks, like not.
It's a tough hike, and we are strong hikers. But I will say there were people who do not hike that did it.
Totally.
They take a lot of rest breaks. So if you don't hike or you're not super active, don't necessarily let that deter you. But definitely be aware that it will be more challenging.
Yeah, it's challenging, but if you're up for the challenge, like they'll wait for you, and you can 100% do it.
You can also hire a porter to carry all your belongings, which I would recommend because
Totally.
it provides them with income. That's like their job. That's how they make money. So it's a good thing for them. And then it also saves your back and your energy from carrying up
100%.
your own gear. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
100%. We make it to base camp, which was a great experience. It's very nice to get all the way up there and then be able to now chill out for a little bit. And then they ask the question, like, okay, who wants to go to Fuego? And
Fuego is the one that actively erupts every 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
It goes off.
And so we decide to go on the expedition, and it leaves at night. And
it was also clear when we made that choice. The weather was clear.
Yeah. It was like probably clouds rolling in, but at least it wasn't raining.
And the tour guide said, I would recommend doing it if it looks like this.
Okay. Yeah, he did say that, didn't he?
That's why we chose to do it.
So we start going down in insanely steep fashion. We descend Acatenango, and we are just like sliding. I am in my I don't know what kind of shoes they are, but they just like are flat and not meant for hiking. And I'm slipping and sliding on the like sandy rock surface that covers Acatenango.
Because to get to Fuego, you have to descend Acatenango and then go back up Fuego.
And I'm just falling everywhere. Everybody's laughing at me the entire time.
It was funny.
And then finally we get to the middle section, and it's now time to hike Fuego, which was so steep. After doing all of Acatenango that morning, it's like, oh baby, like this is like some real effort right now. We go slow and we get up to the ridgeline of Fuego, and by the time we get up to the ridgeline of Fuego, we pretty much can't see anything. The fog is rolled in. I'll show a picture of what it looked like. The fog is rolled in so heavily. We all look hilarious. The terrain is epic and the experience is bananas, but you can't really see anything. And now we're out the ridgeline.
And it's probably about like, I don't know, like 10 feet wide, and then a sheer drop on either side, and you can't see more than like 10 feet ahead of you because the fog is so thick. And our guide just says, now we wait and we hope that the clouds clear. So everybody sits down and we're all chilling, and all of a sudden you hear the volcano erupt and you feel the ground shaking back and forth, but you can't see how far or how close you are. So you're like, I don't know if we're safe here or what to do. But we waited and waited, and then the rain started, and the wind picked up.
Well, yeah, just the eruption of the volcano rattles you. Like, you can't see anything.
It's massive.
And it feels like an earthquake just happened while you're on, like, a 10-foot wide ridge on top of the mountain. Like, talk about so loud, too. It's I mean, to experience that is bananas, but... and then the wind really picked up and the rain started to pick up, and it got to a point where it's like, all right, it feels like this is a little dangerous right now.
I think the whole group that we were with made a group decision to head back to base camp, and that part of the hike was the worst. I remember being soaking wet and freezing cold, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it.
Cold,
I
wet,
really didn't think.
Sliding, tired.
You're falling. It's a lot. It's heavy and it's pitch black.
Yeah.
And you have headlamps, but you can't really see anything. And
dangerous for sure.
It was scary. And
at one point you're like going over like wet branches that are laid down over like a river. It's like,
it's
what is
crazy.
Going on right now?
It's crazy, but it's fun. It's really awesome. I think if the weather was clear, it would have been 100% no brainer worth it, because it wasn't. It kind of leaves us with a little bit of disappointment, but yeah, it was wild. And then you get back, you eat dinner, which I don't think I ate dinner that night because I didn't feel good. And then we went to sleep in the pouring rain, and it's freezing cold. For some reason, my sleeping bag was soaking wet, which sucked. And I remember being so cold and so wet, and I slept in the clothes that I hiked in.
Slept in the clothes.
Like sweat and rainwater and everything.
Yeah.
And then they were supposed to wake us up at like 4 a.m. to ascend the peak. And we got woken up by our tour guide, and he said, sorry, guys, the weather is too bad and it's not safe, so we're going to go back down.
Which was obvious because the size of the raindrops that didn't let up for the entire night. It was just ongoing, and
but
it
wasn't
sad.
Stopping. It was like kind of a somber vibe on the drive back.
Totally.
But the other perk is, especially if you're going alone, you bond with the people that you do this hike with. And we ended up meeting up with them a few times after, which is really fun. So even if you're not alone, it's a fun vibe, and you can meet really cool people who are like fun and having a good time and ready to explore an adventure, which was definitely a bonus.
Yeah, super dope. Tour guys were badass. It was awesome to go up with them. The people on the way obviously made it fun. Like, we just had banter going the entire time, which like you have to do because everyone's like struggling and the weather is crazy. So
we're complaining about it now, but in the moment, I think everybody really had a good positive attitude, and nobody was really complaining or miserable. Like, we all knew we were miserable, but we were trying to just encourage each other. I remember I didn't feel good, and everybody was just so supportive and kind, and they're like, what do you need? Like, you got this, you could do this. And then if somebody else was like really having a hard time on the hike, we were all hyping each other up. It was so awesome. Really good camaraderie.
Amen. So that was pretty much all of the Acatenango hike. Definitely recommend. Definitely challenging, but definitely recommend.